Hi everyone, my name is Matt Smith, and today I'm going to talk to you about education and the lost cause. I'm very interested in the Civil War. I'm very interested in the memory of the Civil War, and I wrote a paper in my methods course about the development of the lost cause in the late 19th century into the 20th century. The Lost Cause ideology was spread in a number of ways. It could be veterans reunions, could be publications, could be monuments. But one area in particular that I've become very interested in is education and just how education was utilized by promoters of the Lost Cause to really spread that ideology. And so that's what I looked for in the dissertations that I researched. An article that I came across in one of the dissertations that I was reading is titled "The Textbooks of the Lost Cause, Censorship and the Creation of Southern State Histories" by Fred Arthur Bailey. And Bailey really differentiates between two phases of the crusade to promote the lost cause. He looks into the first phase as being expulsion of materials of Northern bias, and history books and such. And number two, publication and promotion of history sympathetic to the Confederacy. So there's going to be an attempt to write a new history that really promotes these ideals that preserve the honor of the Confederacy. Themes found in Southern textbooks, according to Bailey: slavery. Slavery might be ignored or portrayed as a benevolent and virtuous institution. He also looks into Southern solidarity during the war, how this was a united war effort, according to the Southern textbooks that were written in the late 19th century. And then he's going to see how Reconstruction was a period of Northern interference. That's how that period is portrayed in these Southern textbooks as well. The first dissertation I looked into is by someone who's well respected in this field, Karen Lynn Cox. And Cox wrote a dissertation really centering on the United Daughters of the Confederacy, abbreviated UDC. And education was a part of the research that Cox conducted. The UDC utilized education to transmit Confederate ideals to children. So children were definitely a target to promote this ideology. And there was the claim by the UDC of an impartial history. That was one of their goals. They wanted to get rid of, going back to Bailey's article, get rid of that bias by the Northerners and promote an impartial history. And the goal was for Southern public schools to adopt UDC approved texts. Some sources used by Cox: first of all, the minutes of the annual convention were cited throughout Cox's dissertation, as well as the Southern Historical Society papers. Those were two sources that Cox relied heavily upon, as well as some secondary sources listed there. Those are some of the most notable ones. The second dissertation I looked into is by Christopher Martin, and he focuses on John William Jones and the Lost Cause in his dissertation. And Jones is someone of particular importance to me because he wrote a textbook that was widely used throughout the South. In this dissertation, Martin gives an overview of the life of Jones and talks about all the ways that he spread Lost Cause ideology. Education being my focus is one of those ways that Jones utilized this transmission. He became known as the historian of the Confederacy, and there's a quote down here at the bottom: "Don't let your children study Yankee histories, no matter how impartial they may appear to be or how handsomely they are gotten up, they contain poison." Martin used a variety of sources as well. He's going to, just like Cox, rely on those Southern Historical Society papers. The textbook published by Jones is a major source, and then he also looks into Southern newspapers and collections, archive collections using a document camera. Here is a list of my three sources. I appreciate your time.